June the 15th, 2021. Guys, you're looking at the 5-day forecast from the National Hurricane Center. Now, this was at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time this morning. Hasn't been updated yet. We're still showing 3 different systems that they're watching. Now, Bill at the top, this thing formed off of the Carolina coast and took off. There was some rain and wind there, I'm sure. I haven't heard many reports, but it didn't linger very long at all. But right now it's at 60 miles an hour sustained wind speed. And because of the location, it's moving very fast. Again, look at this forward momentum at 38 miles per hour. You just don't see that in the hurricanes that stay down in the lower Atlantic and Caribbean and the Gulf. But again, 38 mile per hour. And what that's saying, guys, you've got Nova Scotia to your left, but this thing is going to come into St. John's. The storm out in the Atlantic, and it still has a 10% chance of formation, but they're saying after that, a couple days, it's going to be into much drier air and upper level wind shear. Then you're going to have that Saharan dust layer that always kind of puts an impact and a damper on these storms. I don't think we're going to have to worry much about it, but it is an indicator of that area coming off of Africa is primed now. The temperatures offshore and everything, once the wind changes, to start firing these Atlantic hurricanes our way. And of course, all the islands out in front of this are impacted first. Now, let's go to the Bay of Campeche. Quite a strange storm when you don't see very much. Don't really know what's going on there, but it's still staying as far as the center of circulation in the Bay of Campeche. It's very close to shore. Remember, some of the models were showing it actually go ashore. Some were having it curve around and then head more north. But right now, it has got a left motion or westward motion. Part of it's ashore, but the center of circulation is just offshore. And we'll take a look at that also, saying the disorganized showers and thunderstorms continue over the Bay of Campeche and southern Mexico. It's associated with a broad low pressure area. The system is expected to move little during the next day or two, and any development should be slow to occur during that time period. However, the disturbance should begin to move northward by Thursday, and a tropical depression is likely to form late in the week when the low moves across the central or northwestern Gulf of Mexico. Regardless of development, heavy rainfall will continue over portions of Central America and southern Mexico in the next several days. And you can see it as we look at the maps, because of where it's setting and the airflow that's been coming out of the Pacific Ocean over the Mexican peninsula, that there's storms that are being fed through that entire area. Now, this is a wide satellite image of the Atlantic, all the way from the African coast, where you can see the storm here. And you see it's not a solid storm, and it's got upper level wind shear. But notice the Saharan dust cloud through this area. And so, again, it's just like putting sand on water. It's going to absorb a lot of the moisture out of it. And that's what's happening. But there is that disturbance that we're watching once, and we'll see it, these dust layers that's coming off of Africa. Sometimes there will be a break in them, and the hurricanes will really take advantage of that. Plus, we've seen 2 storms come off the coast back to back, and the first storm is like running interference, absorbing a lot of that moisture and being almost decimated by it, but leaving an opening behind it of more moist air, because it absorbed the dust layer. So we got those 2 storms, and again, Bill here at the top moved offshore very quickly, is headed north to St. John's. Here you can see about half the Bay of Campeche, not the entire western half of the Gulf. And we're going to look at that, but here you can see the storms that are being pulled across the Yucatan and into the Gulf between the Yucatan and Cuba. And so that's moisture that's being pulled here, and it's associated with the low pressure that they're talking about. And something I said last week that could be very beneficial is notice the moisture that's been drifting over Florida. And the early models were showing that regardless of where this storm went. And so maybe this is helping you guys a lot, because there was a lot of folks saying that it was very dry there. And we're going to look at the Gulf of Mexico, but first let me say this about Bill. It's a tropical storm moving at 60 miles an hour, moving very fast again, 38 miles an hour forward speed. So this evening by 8 p.m., it's going to be almost half the distance to St. John's from where it's at. And in the morning at 8 a.m., it will come ashore as a 50-mile-per-hour storm, or as it's getting ashore, it will be 50, but as it approaches shore, guys, you may get a lot of that forward surge of the 60-mile-per-hour sustained winds. Plus, so again, Wednesday, 8 a.m., 50-mile-an-hour winds. Notice that the center of circulation is almost upon the main island. It's already been out into the bays and the peninsulas here. So when it gets that far ashore, you would expect it to decrease in speed. It may do it before it gets there. Irregardless, you have a forward surge of a hurricane. If it's has 60-mile-per-hour winds and it's pushing waves that forward, then suddenly the center of rotation goes to 50 miles an hour. That outward surge at the edges that was created by the higher winds is still there. So you're aware of that. You've been in these storms before. So by 8 a.m. Wednesday morning, this thing's going to be coming ashore. Now, this is the basic average of the models. A few do show it curving a little left, guys. Just keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on your local weather as we get into this evening and overnight. It's a heads up for you guys. Again, 998 millibars pressure, so keep an eye on it. And just quickly while we're here, before I go over to the Gulf images, 12:30 p.m. update today. These are two of my favorite models. The CMC, which is a short green line. It hasn't been projected further out than that. But in this line this is the Navy model right there in the purple line. And it does show a slightly more westerly track than the center of circulation that was coming in more on the eastward end of St. John. So you guys keep an eye on that. The storm's located out here at 12:30 p.m. and just watch for possible left or westward movement. Now, also updated at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, which is about 15 minutes ago, you're still seeing the conflict in the models. One thing that's different, these two models were showing the storm staying more to the south along the Mexican peninsula here. But now, because of the front, they're curving. And so if they come ashore here with this model or this one, you're going to see a great decrease in any type of formation. Now, you may see a lot of rain and some winds. The blessing in that, if it holds true to these models, which I don't really think it's going to, depends on how the pressure in the Gulf changes, then West Texas and Mexico, you may get some of this moisture, and that would be a blessing for that area. Now, East Texas, you've had a lot more rain than West Texas and the edges of New Mexico. And that may be wishful thinking, so be it. Now, this is the satellite that's current now at 11:49 a.m. Central. This would be 12:49 on the East Coast. And what you're seeing, again, are a lot of associated storms with this low pressure. Now, if you look very closely right here, guys, you'll see an opening in the upper level clouds, and you'll see the center of circulation. Let me pull that up just a little closer. Now, if you take a look at this, look closely, you can see your timestamp at the bottom. There's a rotation right here, and when some of these upper level clouds clear, you can see down kind of into the center of it there as this starts. Check that out. Right here is the center of circulation, and it's been kind of moving around, and you notice you're getting a lot of rain off of the storm, it looks like, through these upper level clouds into Mexico, guys. So watch for that, because depending on what it does, you could be setting up for some flooding if it goes ahead and saturates your ground. Now, you have these systems that are moving into the Gulf of Mexico itself now, here, here, and here. And all of this is being pulled around this low pressure area. And if you look at it, it's not that much, but very well defined center of circulation. But look at the streamers going out into the Gulf of Mexico. And this entire section is being affected by this center of circulation. Check that out. And so a good part of the southern Gulf of Mexico is involved in this low pressure system already. And just for just for keeping a watch. Guys, see this system that's on the other side of the Yucatan up into the northwestern side of the Caribbean, right in here? May just want to keep an eye on it the next few days. All of this area that we're looking at, it's that time of year in June that we see the storms. June, early July, late May, a lot of times in this area. Then as it gets later into the season, we'll see the Atlantic Ocean heat up more and more. But right now, just look at the amount of space that's being controlled by this low pressure system. So there's definitely energy there in its favor. Now let's look at some of the models. Now this is the current Navy model called NavGem. And what they're showing is the system setting here, moving around, and then taking this northward turn coming into central Texas. Now, it's not showing it very strong here. They did say there would be a chance of it strengthening once it got into the central and western Gulf. So once it does that, then it could pick up speed and pick up its strength. What we would watch for at that time is how much moisture and cloud wrap and storms are associated with the center of that circulation. What it is showing here from the Navy is coming into central Texas, and once it makes landfall, a hard right back across Houston through Louisiana, North Mississippi into Tennessee. From there, we know this will change, but this is what the Navy is showing now. High pressures in the orange, from the dark orange to the light orange, and the storms are going to stay away from that, in other words. But once it opens back this way, notice the gap that's opened up. So that's why I'm saying these storms can make a hard right depending on what this pressure does also. So it kind of opens up this area of the Gulf. We're just going to keep an eye on it. The Canadian model is very similar. What you're seeing is formation down along the Bay of Campeche. This thing goes through. It's going to start over here. Notice your center of circulation moves into the central western Gulf there, and moves into Texas and dissipates more to the west in this image. We'll just have to watch it, guys. This has been a very strange storm. Set there and set there for the last several days. You usually don't see that, but it's stalled between this high pressure that you're seeing on the right and the front that's coming down through the U.S. So just keep your eye on it, guys. We're still dealing with those pop-up afternoon severe thunderstorm warnings on the radios. We had 2 yesterday late in the evening here in central Mississippi. Very clear day most of the day. Suddenly, out of nowhere, just because we're getting heat indexes, 105, 106. A real feel is on my weather station. If you set it to real feel, right now, it is 102 at 11:58 a.m. Central Time, and that which more than likely will go to around 105 or 106 like it did yesterday. Once you get to that point with all this destabilization in the upper air, you're going to see that. So just keep an eye on that too. The rain is good in a lot of places, especially right now Florida. But Florida, what's been going on is you see that orange high pressure that's been staying over the Florida Peninsula for quite a bit. That pushes these storms away from the southern part and central parts of Florida and more up along the in Mississippi, northern Alabama, along the Tennessee, Carolina area. And so that's what you're being dealing with. We will get a break in that off and on. And with all the moisture that we're seeing in the Gulf, maybe it will continue to get you some down there. I know you need it. But guys, keep your prayers open for our folks over on the West Coast in the desert Southwest, really all the way up along that desert area, because Phoenix is going to have 118-degree days, 115, 116 for the next 3 days. Record-breaking in just about every state, even up into Montana. Record-breaking high temperatures. Our shields are weak. Extreme gamma radiation penetration through our through our atmosphere, and you'll sunburn so fast right now. It's you're dealing with possible skin cancer in very short periods of time. You guys that stay outside much, you already know what I'm talking about. And if you're on the water, that water just reflects it back about twice as much. So you really need to pay attention to this. This is not global warming, but we are dealing with shield penetration. Heads up, be safe.